Welcome to the Government Procurement Innovators, better known as GPI. My name is Paula Watts, founder and CEO of the Government Procurement Innovators. Today's webinar, we will be covering an overview of the federal procurement process and GPI's Federal Procurement Training Program. Before I start, I always like to provide a background on who I am and how I ended up in this space. Previously, I had a company in Washington, D.C. that was a part of the SBA's 8A Business Development Program. If you haven't heard of that, we're going to go into further details with the slide presentation. After growing that business to close to $15 million in contracts and close to 40 employees, I ended up having to close that business due to a bad partnership. But that really pushed me to my new passion because I realized no one was training small businesses on how to run a business on that level. So after closing the business, I volunteered as a SCORE counselor, which is a resource partner of the Small Business Administration. And I was able to create workshops and training on how small businesses can enter into government contracting. After 2 years working as a SCORE counselor, I applied for a position with the Small Business Administration, and I was hired in the Philadelphia district office as a business opportunity specialist. In that position, my job was to make sure that 8A companies are successful in the program. Once you're in the 8A program, you're assigned a specialist just like me, who are there to provide you support as you navigate through the program. After 4 years in Philadelphia, I relocated here to the Atlanta district office, and each of those offices, I was responsible for managing 45 businesses a year. And for me, that really provided me with a great insight on what other businesses were doing and how they were becoming successful utilizing SBA's program. I was also required to become certified as a contract specialist. And for me, that was the icing on the cake because I had ran a business for 10 years, grew it. I worked inside of SBA, understood their operations, but the missing piece for me was the side of the government. What steps do they really take to actually put an RFP out for you to respond to? By becoming certified as a contract specialist, it really gave me the insight on what steps the government takes to actually issue that RFP. I've successfully trained more than 10,000 businesses on marketing to the federal government and have successfully assisted small businesses to win over $100 million in contracts in various industries. Having played in this space as long as I have and understanding my challenge in that first business as a small business and understanding what was occurring working as an employee of the Small Business Administration, I realized the challenges that businesses were having. No one really understood how to connect the dots. So often when businesses came to SBA, it would be great information. I would hold the workshops, everyone was excited, great information, but once they left the workshop, no one knew what to do with the information. No one really knew how to connect the dots. I also found that the same as you work with government agencies. A lot of government agencies aren't quite sure understanding how to leverage SBA's set-aside program. So what that created was a lot of confusion. Some of the barriers that occur for small businesses and challenges that they have when they're trying to enter in this space is many of you don't understand the government language, not understanding the processes, not understanding how to determine what certifications you're required. And once you understand what certifications are required, well, what type of documents will I need or supporting documents are required? I also realized that the government websites and agencies operate in a silo function. None of the websites are connected. So SBA has their websites, GSA may have their website, but no one is really connecting the two together. So based on that, I created a program based on my lessons learned from that first business and my experience in working at SBA. The first thing that I learned in that first business was not to limit my business. I started out as an event planning company. My mentor pulled me aside and asked me, why was I pigeonholing myself? When he said that, it made sense. Because before I started that first business, my first job was with a company that was a part of the 8A program doing event planning. I attached myself to that contract and I went through 6 companies, meaning every 3 years, that contract went to a new 8A company. And so when my mentor indicated that I was pigeonholing myself, it made sense based on the companies that I'd gone through and those that were successful. So I ended up changing my business model because the first year in business, I received my first $1 million contract. After receiving that first $1 million contract, I was no longer doing event planning. So I changed my business model to a management consulting firm and created divisions. I had an event planning division. I had a IT division because as an event coordinator, I needed a website. So I was working with IT firms. So why not pull them onto my team? I created a publication division because as an event planner, you have to mail out information. Why not pull that out and create a separate division offering separate services? Once I created those divisions, I started getting contracts in those areas. So in our first module of our training program, we teach you how to create a business model that's going to be sustainable in this space and not necessarily based on your skill set. The second thing I realized is collaboration is key. Most of SBA's program and a lot of government contracts are designed for small businesses to collaborate. But what I realize is most small businesses don't understand how to collaborate. So in our government ready module, which is the second module, we place individuals in teams and teach you how to collaborate on looking at opportunities. It's always better to work together collectively rather than trying to figure this out by yourself. The third thing is you must have the infrastructure. What do I mean by infrastructure? Meaning you have to have an accounting system. You need to have your HR infrastructure in place. You need to create a business plan that's going to help you determine what type of infrastructure is required as you go through this process. In our third module, we focus primarily on your infrastructure. You creating a business plan that's now going to help you grow your business in this space. So when you look at the federal government and understand how the federal government operates, the government operates on a fiscal year, meaning October 1st through September 30th is the government's fiscal year. For you as a small business, there's a peak time and a downtime for you to market to the government. What happens often before the government receives their budget or the agencies receive their budget, they're operating on what they call a continuing resolution, meaning they have not been fully funded. So for you as a small business, the best time to market to the government is generally October through February or March, because most of the agencies have not received their money and they're more apt to talk to you. March through September, they're trying to get rid of contracts. The closer you get to September, they're not trying to talk to you. So we're preparing you to market to those agencies during their downtime. Every year, the government sets aside goals, government-wide small goals. 23% of contracts are set aside for small businesses. 5% are set aside for participants that are in the HUBZone program. 5% if you're a woman-owned small business, 3% if you're service disabled, and 3% if you're a HUBZone. As you can see over here in the last fiscal year, there was a lot of money awarded to small businesses in each of the set-aside programs. For you, you have to think about what certifications you really qualify for. The more certifications you have, the more you're helping that agency achieve their goal. Meaning, or as an example, let's say you're a small business and an agency awarded you $100,000 contract. That agency now gets $100,000 credit towards their goal. Now let's say you're a small business and a woman-owned small business. Now that agency achieves $200,000 towards their goals. So you can see the more certifications you have, the more you're helping those agencies achieve their goals. We're also looking at targeting agencies that may not have achieved their goals. So if you are a participant that's a part of the HUBZone or you're a woman-owned business, you can see as a whole, these agencies that did not meet their goals. So we teach you how to target those agencies so you can assist them in meeting their goals. What I have consistently said, having worked both at the federal side and worked up in the Washington, D.C. area and working in the Atlanta, Georgia area, what I've said consistently, there's not enough small businesses competing on these contracts. So often you will hear start locally, stay in your lane, and then go to the federal level. And I'm telling you and training you differently because I know the competition on the federal level is not as high as it is on the state and local level. And you're not necessarily pigeonholed in that area. I can win a contract, even though I'm in Georgia, in Hawaii. So understand this is probably the best way that you want to go. What I've consistently said, people outside of the DMV area really don't have a clue based on the number of businesses that are certified in their programs, in SBA's program. As you can see here, and let's just look at this program as an example. There's 173 people, businesses that are registered in the 8A program. In this DMV area, there's close to 1,700 businesses. So what you'll find is businesses from the DC area coming here to Georgia to win contracts because there's no competition. And when I look at the state of Georgia, you have the CDC, you have 5 military bases. So part of our strategy is teaching you to perhaps market to other states where the competition is not as high. Now, in order to play in this space, you can self-certify in Systems for Awards Management, better known as SAM.gov. You can self-certify as a small business, as a woman-owned, as a veteran-owned, a service disabled veteran-owned, and a small disadvantaged business. There are only 2 programs that currently require a formal certification, meaning you have to submit an application to SBA and be approved into the program. One program is the 8A Business Development Program, and it's a program strictly designed to build your business. The second program is the HUBZone Program. The HUBZone Program is designed to build community. In order to qualify primarily, and there are other stipulations for the 8A program, but primarily SBA is first going to look to determine if you're socially and economically disadvantaged. You're in this program for 9 years. By being in this program, it allows you to go to any federal agency and they can award contracts to your business up to $4 million with no competition. That's $4 million per contract. Because the program is designed to build your business, that's why they set aside these non-competitive contracts. So you can get a better understanding on how you can effectively compete as a small business after you graduate from the program. The HUBZone program is based on where your business is located. As long as your business is located in an area that's been designated as a HUBZone and 35% of your employees reside in a HUBZone, then your business can qualify into that program. For the 8A program, the social component of it consists of you being a U.S. citizen, and as long as you're a member of any one of these ethnic groups, you automatically meet the social component. If you're not a member of one of these ethnic groups and you're a U.S. citizen and can provide a preponderance of evidence demonstrating how you've been discriminated against, you can apply into the program. The economic component primarily is looking at your adjusted gross income, your personal net worth. Your personal net worth cannot exceed $250,000, minus any equity in your home and any equity in your business. So SBA is going to look at your tax returns and determine whether or not your adjusted gross income exceeds this amount. But they're also going to delete or subtract any equity in your home and in your business. The other kept secret for this program is that for those of you who are re-entering into mainstream and you have a record, but you're not on parole or probation, guess what? You can start a business and get into this program. This is another way for you to be able to go out and produce and be valuable to the society. The HUBZone program, it applies to over 3,000 purchases over 3,000. There's no term limits associated with this. You must be certified by SBA. You're required to be recertified every 3 years, but you also get the benefit in this program of what they call those non-competitive or sole source contracts with other businesses who are in that program. The difference with this sole source and the 8A is in order for a government agency to award you a sole source contract in this program, they have to make sure that there are at least 2 companies who are qualified to perform on that contract. Whereas in the 8A program, they're not under those types of stipulations because 8A is a business development program. You also get what they call a 10% price evaluation preference, meaning the government will add a 10% price or an additional 10% onto someone else's bid who's outside of the program for those full and open contracts. As an example, if you're in the program and you submitted a bid for $535,000, someone outside of the program submitted a bid of $500,000. The government's going to add 10% onto that $500,000 bid, making that bid $550,000, and you win. The requirements for this program is your principal office must be in a HUB zone, and 35% of your employees must live in a HUB zone. Not necessarily the same HUB zone that your business is in, but as long as they're in a HUB zone. For service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, the rule of two that I described in the HUB zone applies for this program as well. There's no term limits, and you also get the benefit of non-competitive contracts. If you're doing business with VA, you must go to vetbiz.gov and be certified by the Veterans Administration. For the women's program, it's broken into two components: economically disadvantaged and just the women's program. If you qualify as an economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, you're automatically in the WOSB. It is free. You can register in certify.sba, and you're going to compile and upload all your required documents to the repository. But before you can apply into this program, you must be registered in sam.gov. To qualify for this program, you must be a small business based on your primary industry code, own at least 51%, and you must manage the day-to-day operations and any long-term decisions and hold the highest officer position. They do require that you work full-time during normal working hours, but there's no minimum amount of time the business has been operational. What I found with this program, because it's still relatively a new law, and it came into place in 2012, often we were getting calls at SBA from a lot of the men trying to position their wives into the program. I now want to take you to a couple of websites before we go actually into GPI's program. When you look at some of our clients, and I'd always like to show you how we're able to demonstrate and transform businesses. This young lady met me while we were at SBA, and she was a real estate agent. First thing that I told her, in order to apply into the program, into the 8A program, SBA does not allow brokers. So we had to revamp her business model so she's no longer doing business as a real estate agent. And we pretty much took a lot of the things that she was doing already as an agent and created services. So when I look at those that are in the real estate agent, you deal with a lot of paper. In government language, that's document preparation. You deal with a lot of paper, and you have to keep records of all those houses you're selling. That's records management. You're also always hosting open houses. You're doing a lot open houses, meetings. You're dealing with graphics. You're dealing with print materials. So we pulled out all the things that she was doing within the real estate space and created services. She's dealing with janitors. She's dealing with electricians and the grounds maintenance. Now what you're doing is adding them to your team, and you're subcontracting some of these functions out. We also did the same thing with a law firm. When we met him, he came in as a lawyer. You look at his website, it's a typical law firm website. Understanding that the government's not necessarily going to have a lot of legal contracts out there because they have a lot their own attorneys. We had to transform his business model into a consulting firm, and now these are the services that he's offering. We're still staying in his background of legal services, but we just broke out different components so that now he has a broader service base that he can offer to the government. And you can see here, he's kept his name, but he's doing business as the consulting group. The other website that I always like to take individuals to is this website, the Federal Procurement Data System. This is the government's checkbook. Anytime that you're trying to determine who's buying your services, you can key it into this database. So if I'm in the education field and I'm a trainer, I can put in training and it's going to identify over here what departments are buying it, the agencies under the departments, and the people, the vendors who are winning contracts. These are your top 10 vendors. We also train businesses to go after the low-hanging fruit. This is one of our students that started in November, and by April, she'd won her first contract, just targeting the low-hanging fruit and applying GPI's process. So step by step. So you can see she's won 6 contracts, and she started GPI in November of 2018. And you can see by 2019, she's winning contracts. And you can see these are small buys, manageable buys. This database allows me to go behind the scene and shows you when she was awarded, the total value of the contract. You can see she's located here in Georgia. And the contract was in Hawaii. And it was providing cleaning service for those who were on the Navy ship in Hawaii. And you can see there was only 2 offers. So we are very proud of this young lady and how she's been able to apply and understand the process. Once you complete our program, and actually the first 8 weeks, we're going to show you how to go after these low-hanging fruit. This is how you begin to get in the game and obtain past performance in the government's language. Our program is broken into 3 modules. It is 1 hour a week online, 8 weeks apiece. And after each module, you'll have something that's tangible for your business. After business ready, your business will be registered properly with the state and county. You will have registered your business in SAM to do business with the government. You will self-certify, as well as begin to look at the low-hanging fruit of those buys that are $250,000 and below, and specifically for small businesses. The Government Ready module is broken down into strategic planning. We're going to teach you how to identify teaming partners, how to begin utilizing these websites and building your capacity. And in the 3rd module, we're going to help you create a business plan that's specifically for government contracts. If you need more information and on this program, and our next live session actually will begin Tuesday, April 24th, April 24th, 2020, from 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Everything is online. Please go to my website, gpiwin.com, and you can register for the next course. Thank you, and I look forward to you becoming a part of the GPI community.